Good afternoon. When I was a law student, I sat in a seat very similar to the ones that you are sitting in today. And I was at orientation, and I was a transfer student, and the dean of my law school at the time was Dean Kagan, who you may know now as Justice Elena Kagan. She said a few things at this orientation that I will never forget. She said, all of you, by virtue of the academic acrobatics that you performed to get here, have been on a treadmill, a hamster wheel of achievement, if you will. And then she paused dramatically, and she said, you can get off now. You've made it. I'm here to develop and deliver a message very similar to you today. Have you all thought about the fact that you've made it to a top 25 law school in the United States? That's a really big deal. A really big deal. Yes. By my very, very rough calculations, you are in the top 1% of educated people in the world by virtue of graduating from this place. And barring some terrible thing in your life, all of you will graduate. You will earn this incredible degree, and you will take your place in the highest echelons of educated people as law graduates and lawyers. Am I right? Okay. Yes! It's awesome! So my question to you is, if you're going to earn this incredible degree, let's start to answer the question of what are you going to do with it? Yes, I found in my life that a lot of the biggest work and most important work starts with really big, very annoying questions, like this one. Why? Why are you here? Why did you come to law school? Why are you at the summit today? Good news is, I know the answer for the vast majority of you. I am that fantastic. I've been paying attention to my students for a long time, and here's what I've learned. The vast majority of law students do not come to law school to learn torts or to learn civil procedure. The vast majority of law students come to law school to become a professional and to get a job. Yeah, that's really it. Raise your hand if you came to law school to become a professional and get a job. Don't be shy. Yes, honey, that is what I call the Holy Grail. That is what we are here to do. Now, specifically, can any of you tell me exactly what you want to do? Who here knows exactly what they're going to do with this law degree? Raise your hands. Be brave. Yeah, don't worry. All you who are not raising your hands, it's usually a very small number. You raised your hand. Tell me. What's your name? Rebecca, what are you going to do with your law degree?
Well, I'm moving to a career in international democratic development, so legislative drafting and rule of law internationally.
That sounds awesome. She is going to rock the world in international development, right?
Yes.
And human trafficking?
It's
Related. Okay. Awesome, Rebecca. I like this. For those of you in the room who are not able to raise your hand, you aren't sure what you're doing, don't worry. Good news is, even the folks who did raise their hand, in my experience, many of them will change their minds. Probably not Rebecca. She sounds real sure. So, for those of you who don't know exactly what you're doing here, here's my next big question to you. How are you going to figure it out? What's your plan, Stan? Do you have one? Probably not. That's okay. Good news, I'm not here to freak you out. I'm here to help. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm here to give you what I consider the epicenter of a strong job search and a happy career. That's what we're going to talk about today. To begin, let's compare your job search to your house, shall we? So if your house is your career, then your job search is like you're building your house. You're building your career and building your house. A couple of things to note about your home building process. First of all, it's messy. It's difficult. You're going to find things that get in the way that you don't expect. Has anybody done a home remodel in here? I have not. I don't know. But I've heard it can be very, very difficult, and a lot of things get in the way. And the same is true of your job search. You're going to face obstacles that you don't expect. Just put that in the plan. Second, your house and your career are very similar in the fact that you're going to spend a lot of time there. Yes, indeed. We want our house to be comfortable. We want our house to be safe. We want our house to be secure. Same things with our career, I hope. We want to, hopefully, enjoy it. So what do we want in order to enjoy our home? We want it to be strong. We want a strong foundation, right? Does everybody here want a strong foundation for their home and their job search and their career? Yes, yes, ma'am. But what we're here to talk about is even more foundational than the foundation to your home. We're talking about, if you paid attention in the beginning to the title, we're talking about the blueprints. Yes, this is how you plot your way to awesomeness. I looked up the definition of blueprints, and one of the definitions that I thought was really relevant to us today is a detailed plan for doing something new, which I believe all of us are doing. Even those of us with previous careers, we're still plotting something new. And without a plan for your home, you end up with a lot of materials, a lot of wood, a lot of nails, a lot of workers not knowing what to do. And at Emory, without a plan, you could end up with a very fancy degree and nowhere to go. I'm not in favor of that. So today, I'm going to tell you how to create the blueprints for your job search. We're going to start. And this is the key. Self-assessment is the key to creating the blueprints for a successful job search and a happy career. I know, you're surprised. But I am so serious about this being the epicenter of your job search that I literally wore my t-shirt that says #KnowThyself, and I'm going to rock it during the entire talk so that you remember how serious I am about this. Okay, so, seriously, I was serious. Last year I joked, I was like, if I had a t-shirt that said Know Thyself, I would wear it. And someone actually made me 30 of them, and I gave them away all last year, including this one. So if you attend some of my programs, there may be more of these t-shirts where this comes from. Okay, so self-assessment, know thyself. And today, to tell you about this, I'm gonna tell you about this quote. Charlotte Gilman says, until we see who we are, we cannot take steps to become what we should be. In my experience, Charlotte Gilman is right. And I'm going to explain how you go about this and what this looks like. I'm going to tell you through my story and other stories how to go about creating these blueprints. So today specifically, I'm going to tell you why self-assessment is essential. I'm actually going to convince you of this, I promise you. Second, I'm going to tell you how to do it, because nobody wants to know why something is so essential and not learn how to do it. And third, I'm going to tell you what we have for you at Emory to help you on your journey. Right? Are you ready? Me too. So we're going to begin with a narrative. I'm a very big believer in narrative. I actually teach a class called Professional Narrative. That's how important I think it is. And one of the narratives I'm most familiar with happens to be my own. So this is me. That's me graduating from law school. I'm the one with the arrow in her face. So I came to law school a lot like you all. I came and I decided I'm going to do my best. I'm going to get the best grades I possibly can, and then I'm going to get the best job I possibly can. And then I'm going to figure out what I want to do after that. That's how I went about it. So I went to Tulane for my first year. I did very well, and I transferred to Harvard Law School, where I got to hear Dean Kagan speak, as I told you. And while I was at Harvard, I ended up doing well, and I got 2 Holy Grail type of jobs. I got a federal clerkship in the Northern District of Georgia, and then I went to the other Holy Grail of all Holy Grails, to a very large New York City law firm called Sullivan and Cromwell. So I got this best job I could possibly get on Wall Street, and I was there, and I got to do really interesting work. I got to work on the case that arose out of the failure of Washington Mutual Bank. The purchase of those assets out of receivership, which is basically bankruptcy, they were purchased by JP Morgan Chase, which is my client. I mean, my client and 35 other attorneys at the firm, but still, that was my client, and we were in the news. I got to go to the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations and defend my clients, and it was fascinating. Also, what I learned while I was doing this really incredible work was that I actually was not very interested. I don't really have that much of an interest in banks. I don't have that much of an interest in mortgage-backed securities. I don't have that much of an interest in capital markets, even though I tried. I actually even took a self-assessment while I was at the firm on Wall Street, and it was called the Values in Action, which helped me discover my top 5 values. I don't think anything is designed to tell you completely, but I got a good beginning. And so it told me that my top 5 values in life are love, spirituality, gratitude, forgiveness, and curiosity. Now, a lot of times you take these assessments and you're like, what am I supposed to do with that? But on Wall Street, this was a really pretty clear red flag that I wasn't where I needed to be. In very specific terms, this is what I learned. Right? My office mate actually asked, she's like, "Do you think they'll fire you if they find out?" They didn't. I actually was very successful and they didn't want me to leave. But when I figured this out, I did what most people do. I decided I was dissatisfied, and so I switched law firms. And instead of finding the career of my dreams at this second law firm in New York City, I found the man of my dreams. And he asked me very quickly to quit our jobs and to move to Haiti to build schools and water filters and to get married. And yeah, I did that. I actually did that. I say that I went from Jimmy Choo's to Tiva's in about 6 months flat. That's me, those are my people, this is part of the activities. And I'm not encouraging all of you to go drop everything and go to a third world country to find yourself and discover, because honestly, most of the work that I did to discover me was when I came back. So when I came back and I decided, well, I gotta re-enter the world and I've gotta find work that I wanna do, this is what I went through, this is what I did. I went through self-discovery. I started asking myself the big, powerful questions that I've been encouraging you to think about. I read books, I journaled, I talked to people. And what I tried to do was identify my strengths, my interests, my values, and my vision for my life. And then I tried to find work that aligns with those. Really great news, people, I found it. I would consider myself a happy camper, which not everybody can say. I know a lot of unhappy lawyers, and I'm very grateful to do what I do. And, let's see, I'm here to start with an exercise to show you what I mean a little bit more closely. So everybody break out your little handwriting sheet. Everybody should have one of these little shebangy bangies. I want you to pull out your little sheet, and I want you to write your name in the first box on the left. This is very complex. Whichever you prefer. Script or in print. Can you guys still write cursive? Okay, good. You know they stopped teaching that, right? Kind of scares me. Just your full name, write your full name first and last in that first box. Okay. There are some pens if you're totally short on pens and pencils. Now, I want you to take the pencil in your other hand, and then I want you to write your name in the other box. Yeah, there's a lot more chatter with this one. And then it hushes to complete silence as everybody focuses so hard on writing their name. Okay, that should be enough time to write your name, right? Right? Okay. So somebody raise their hand and tell me what it was like to write their name with their dominant hand. Raise your hand. Give me some words. Yell out some words. Easy. Yes, it was easy. What else? Comfortable. Yes, we like comfort. What else? Natural. Yes, easy, comfortable, natural. Absolutely. What about the other hand? What about our non-dominant hand? What did that feel like? Painful, awkward, uncomfortable. Yes, absolutely. So, let's pretend for 1 second in our brains that in your career you will no longer use computers. You will be doing everything by hand. Now raise your hand if you want to use your non-dominant hand for your entire career. Anybody? Anybody interested in that kind of challenge? Probably not. Well, interestingly enough, this is sort of what it's like to find a job that do not align with your strengths, your interests, and your values. It's a bit like using your non-dominant hand. In fact, trying to use your non-dominant hand, like for me, sitting at a desk all day and research and writing about banks is like my non-dominant hand. This is what happens. Well, we're going to move it. There we go. This is what happens. People who are in jobs that do not align with their strengths or interests or values are just much less likely to be happy. It's a bit like using your non-dominant hand. Now I'm going to share a story about Paul. My friend Paul, this is not his real name, but he sat next to me at Sullivan and Cromwell that first year that I was there. And Paul was a really nice guy. He was Ukrainian, a Ukrainian Boy Scout, matter of fact. And he heard my office mate making a bunch of phone calls about sausage around Christmas time. And I swear to goodness, he brought her a sausage just out of nowhere. He's like, "This is a Ukrainian sausage. I heard you were looking for sausage." He did. So Paul sat next to me, and when I got this job and started working with students, I went back and I looked through Sullivan and Cromwell and I tried to discover who's still there and who can I connect students with, and I found Paul. So it's about 7 or 8 years after graduation. I emailed Paul and I was like, "Paul, I see you're still there. I bet you've done some incredible work. Made a lot of money, and I'm wondering if you're willing to talk to some of our most interested and tippy-top students who are interested in commercial litigation in New York City." So I emailed Paul. Paul emailed me back 6 days later at 11:30 at night, because that's the life of a New York lawyer. And he wrote back and he said, "Sarah, it's great to hear from you. It seems like you've gotten to do some really cool stuff." I was like, "Yes, I'm very grateful for that." And he said, "I don't really want to talk to students because I don't have anything to say. I'm just here." Is that not the most depressing thing in the world? I'm going to write it down. I really just need to call Paul and we need to have a conversation. But I'm wondering if Paul has not just been using his non-dominant hand and he has stayed there. So he earned that incredible degree he went to Harvard, and he's not using it to its fullest extent, I would say, even though he's successful. Success can take many forms. I prefer the success that makes me happy. Okay, now let's move on to a happier story, a story that maybe you might be able to identify with a little bit more. This is Kyle. Kyle graduated in 2014. We worked together for a couple of years before he graduated. So Kyle, I realized immediately that Kyle was a natural people person. He won't stop talking. No, I'm just kidding. He just liked to talk to a lot of people. He really kind of was willing to think differently than other people, and he was ready to go against the grain, and he also was just a natural networker. He could make connections with anybody. And Kyle had what I would call middle-of-the-road grades, but he had very big dreams. Kyle decided while he was here that his dream jobs were to work at Proskauer Rose, McKinsey, or Bain. So McKinsey and Bain are two huge consulting firms, and Proskauer Rose is an enormous law firm in New York. As a result of his incredible people skills, Kyle, with middle-of-the-road grades, was able to get interviews at these places, which I thought was really incredible in and of itself. Although he got the interviews, Kyle found this to be an uphill battle. He got the interviews and I think did okay, but he didn't end up getting the jobs. The reason I think that he didn't get the jobs is not because he wasn't qualified or couldn't do the work. It's because he didn't really want to. Kyle wanted the paycheck, he wanted the prestige, and he wanted to say that he worked at these places. He didn't really want that job, which is different. That's a different thing. So what did Kyle do when he discovered that he was in an uphill battle and his plan was not going according to plan? Well, like most of us, he went through a minor depression. Fair enough. And then he came to see me. And Kyle and I went through a very similar process that I went through. We started talking about his strengths, his interests, his values, and I encouraged him to think about using his people skills because that was one of the number one strengths that has really brought him any success so far, and he did. So we thought about business development opportunities for Kyle instead of even the practice of law. And so he started researching some business development opportunities, and he found a company called Axiom. Axiom is a super, super, super large law firm that's sort of like a pinch hitter in terms of lawyers. So they provide lawyers for large law firms and large companies when they're in a pinch. And Kyle found that they are in New York and they're all over the world, and through his incredible people skills, Kyle found someone in Atlanta to talk to about a job. They did not have an internship program in the business development department, which is called practice management, but he created it. Kyle started in his 2L summer as an intern at Axiom in their business development group. Does anybody want to guess how Kyle did as a summer intern? Yeah, he crushed it. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. He totally did. He killed it. He brought in 15 clients for Axiom, including one called Frito-Lay, just in his summer. So unsurprisingly, Kyle got a postgraduate job with Axiom, and you don't even have to take my word for how he's doing there now. So we have an email from Kyle. There he is, practice management extraordinaire. That's my word, not his. And he wrote me an email, and he said, "Sarah, I've been killing it at work. My job is essentially to uncover opportunities and network. How's that a fit for my skill set? Remember when I thought I needed to work at Proskauer or McKinsey? Laughing out loud. Good thing you talked some sense into me. Your all-time favorite student, Kyle. He's my self-proclaimed all-time favorite student. I have a lot of favorite students. A lot. And 2 years out, it's 2016, he's been promoted twice, and he runs the Northeast of practice management, and he has a bunch of people that work underneath him. And again, I think the reason that he is so successful is because this is just a very good fit for his strengths, his interests, and his values. Ding, ding, ding. Hopefully, I have convinced you that this is important, and here's why exactly. I hope this is what you've gained from these stories. We're doing this, one, to know what we're good at so that we can look for work that might allow us to do those things. That's the simplest way to put it. It helps us plan our plan. Second, you can't tell an employer what you're good at if you don't know. And so it helps us communicate to employers more convincingly the better we know ourselves. Whoops, there we are. And within our work, you can also identify opportunities to shine. So for example, you know what I do not volunteer for is extra data management. I don't really like it, I'm not very good at it. But you know what I do volunteer for is to talk. I really like to talk, so here I am. You can find opportunities that you can shine and you don't have to work as hard. It's really just this kind of, I like expedience. If I could add another value to my top 5, expedience would be one. Additionally, as you know, your strengths are great, but sometimes we also know that we have areas of weakness. And so when you know your areas of weakness, you can plan around them. You can create adaptive strategies. In short, being able to identify your strengths, interests, values allows you to be a happy camper like me and Kyle, and not like Paul and those others that are struggling. So hopefully I've convinced everyone here that this is essential. Let's talk about the next question that I know is on all of your minds. All right, lady, how do we do it? How do we go about this? Well, I'm so glad you asked because I happen to know about this as well. We are going to talk about self-assessment. A lot of people, when you talk about self-assessment, they assume what I'm talking about are just those online assessments. I actually found one to figure out what Britney Spears personality you are. I didn't know how many there were. I didn't take that one. There's one for ninja versus pirate. I couldn't help myself. I'm a ninja. But these aren't exactly what I'm talking about. Self-assessment is much bigger and broader, especially than those, of course. But self-assessment is really anything that you do that helps you understand and know yourself better, right? So one of the ways to go about that is online assessments, and here's some of my favorites. Now, you don't have to take notes on any of these. I have a resource for you that will basically take care of all of this, but I understand the inkling and the desire to know. So here, first you'll note that the little ones with asterisks, those are free and available online at any time, which I think is great. So you could literally hop on your computer at home and do those at any time. Some other online assessments are not free and require a facilitator, and some are somewhere in between. A couple of things to note about online assessments is one, they're all unique, and two, they're all designed to tell you something very specific. Actually, and three, none of them, 0 of them, are designed to tell you what to do with your future. I usually consider any form of self-assessment as a little nugget trail. I want you to pick up the nuggets that are your truth as you do them. You're like, yeah, that sounds exactly like me. And the things that don't, I just want you to leave them there. So, as I said, they're all designed to do something specific. So, for example, the Strengths Finder 2.0 is designed to help you discover your talents and your strengths. Interest Inventory, same thing. There to help you discover your interests. Values in Action, there to help you discover your values. Again, none of them can just hand them to you on a silver platter. These are bigger questions that are all based on you. But these are really, really excellent tools to start. We also have the types. Like the Myers-Briggs is one of my very, very, very favorites because of the way that it helps me understand patterns of human behavior. So a lot of folks think that online assessments like the Myers-Briggs are like, I don't want to be put in a box. I'm not one of those 16 boxes. And I would tell you that anyone who understands the Myers-Briggs would tell you that that is not the goal of it. The goal is to help you understand that there are these patterns of human behavior and where your natural preferences will often put you. We all operate outside of our natural preferences all the time, but it's very helpful to understand them in your work. So, Myers-Briggs, very widely used, and I have great news. It's available without a facilitator now. It used to be that you had to hire someone and have them charge you a lot of money to be able to do your Myers-Briggs, but not anymore. It's available online, and of course, I'll send you a link within the resource that I was telling you about, and you can take it on your own for a fee, which I think is really great. Also, 2 people here have won free Myers-Briggs. Unfortunately, no one is sitting in the seats in which I have planted the wins, so no one is winning anymore. No, I'm just kidding. We have you. What's your name? Katie, what's your last name? Harris. Okay, Katie Harris. You have won a Myers-Briggs. I'll be emailing you about that. And I'm just choosing the people that sat closest to my winning spots. I'm trying to encourage you to show you, 1, showing up is half of the battle. You made it. Thank you, Katie. And 2, the people that sit in the front row do really well, although no one is sitting in the front row. And so this gentleman, what's your name? Daniel? That's your last name. Daniel Wade? Yes, you've also won the Myers-Briggs online for free. Whoop, whoop. I love winning things. Who doesn't love to win things? All right, so now we're going onward and upward. In addition to online assessments that I will send you a bunch of links to in the resource I was telling you about, we can do it in books. The nice thing about books is you don't even have to read the whole thing. A lot of these incredible books have really great exercises. You can just flip to the chapter that seems relevant. You can make your copy. We have several books in the Career Center, which are outlined in the resource that I'll give you, that break down a lot of these things that I'm talking about. And you can check out those books for free in the Career Center. Exercises. So a lot of people, they balk. They don't like it when I'm like, here's a pen and paper, and here's some of these exercises that I'm going to have you do. Because they're like, yeah, but this is just me and a pen and paper. Well, the interesting thing about self-assessment is it's getting at things you already know. They're not designed to tell you things that are not already inside. So you and a pen and paper directed in the right direction should be very, very powerful. So there's some exercises in the resource that I'm going to send you to, including a practice area inventory. There is a workplace values assessment and others that I think are really helpful. I encourage you to try them out. Additionally, conversations. People are one of the most underutilized piece of our job search, which you will hear me say over and over and over again if you're assigned to me. But I dare you to try to talk to people. So let me tell you a brief story that I think really illustrates what I mean, that sometimes people can know us better than we know ourselves. So when I decided to quit my New York law firm job and get married and move to a third world country, I called my mother and I delivered this news. What does everybody think she said to me? You have lost your mind. No, well, that's what most people think, but she said, Sarah, that sounds more like you than anything you've done for several years. Pretty powerful. It's because she's seen me for all the years that I was developing, and my values really never changed, and she knew that about me. So here's one thing I encourage everybody here to do. I've actually bribed students in my class last week to do this. It's called the Awesome Mirror. I encourage every single one of you to pick 3 people in your life. Significant other, brother, mom, dad, whoever, supervisor, anybody. Somebody who knows you really well, and I want you to think of their top 3 strengths in your mind. Hey mom, here's the 3 things that I think make you incredible. And then you can say, now do me. That's why it's called the Awesome Mirror. Have them mirror your strengths to you. Ask them, I dare you, right? What I think you're going to find when you ask these questions is you're going to find a lot of similar themes. You're going to find patterns. They're going to use different language, but you might hear similar things. And I think the same is true for self-assessment in general. You're going to get different results. For example, with the Enneagram, I'm an enthusiast, which is unsurprising once you've met me. In the Myers-Briggs, my type is actually called the champion, which I think is a different form of an enthusiast. And they tell me the same things in different languages. And I think that you're going to discover that what you see, if you do a broad swath of these activities, you're going to see patterns and themes, and you're going to hear the same thing over and over again, and then it's not going to surprise you anymore. Another way to go about this is journaling. So what I call the 2-sentence journal is really effective. The two-sentence journal is exactly what it sounds like. You write one sentence and then two sentences once a day, especially when you're in your internships or externships, or even in school or today. So for example, when I was a summer associate, if I had done the two-sentence journal, perhaps I would have written, "Today, I really enjoyed the fancy lunch out at South City Kitchen. Today, I did not enjoy research and writing all by myself for 10 hours straight." And maybe I would have made some realizations sooner than going to the New York law firm, but I did not. So I encourage you, I think you'll see patterns as to what you actually enjoy. Again, I think most of us really want somebody else to tell us. You're just waiting. Go ahead and take the ones online and let them print something out to you and let you see it on paper. There's power there. But know that this is all coming from right in here. Okay, now we have a super fun game. Welcome to our show, If the Price is Right. This is the game we're going to play. It's called If the Price is Right. It's a workplace values auction. Now, everybody's going to choose a partner. Everybody choose a partner. Shouldn't be that hard. Shouldn't be that hard, right? Okay. So for this game, everybody has their partner, and you're going to break out your little sheet. Again. Hello. So, that's my meditation bell. I thought I'd break it out. Here we have various, oops, I didn't mean to do that. We're not there yet. Here we are. So, you two together have $1,000 to spend at this auction. At this auction, you're not going to purchase furniture or anything else really useful. You're going to purchase things that are important to you in your job. Together, you have to decide how you're going to spend your $1,000 given the values that are on the board. So you'll notice, for example, the ones under 500, the bullets under the 500, those are worth $500. The ones under 200 are worth $200. Does that make sense? So you're going to go ahead and mark it together. You're going to make your plan, and you're going to see if we're going to get to purchase your workplace values. This is a short exercise. You have about 3 to 5 minutes. Go. Correction, or an explanation, you have to come to agreement. The two of you have $1,000 together. You are like a team. You have to choose how you'll spend $1,000. everybody. How did it go? Yeah, okay. Do I have any volunteers? Okay, I saw her hand right over there. You two, please come up. Come on down. Thanks for playing in our show. Yes, give them a round of applause. Yes. Welcome, come on. Come on up. Let's do this. So tell us your names.
Macy.
Macy Wylans, Macy Willens, and Zizi Lee. Yes. So tell us, was this a difficult activity?
No.
Not difficult.
No.
Why wasn't it difficult?
We have the same values.
They shared values. Yeah. And did you guys know each other before this activity?
Well, we have some classes together.
Okay, well, we're forming newer and tighter bonds today. Yes, I like it. Okay, so tell us, what did we decide?
So we decided on a work-life balance.
Work-life balance. Who in the audience wants work-life balance? Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, yeah, absolutely. I find work-life balance a really interesting thing because everybody wants it, and it's one of those very few things you do not bring up in interviews, which makes no sense, but you don't, just an FYI. Okay, so we got work-life balance. Also note, okay, what else did you buy?
Autonomy, independence, and freedom.
Autonomy, independence, and freedom. Who in the audience wants autonomy? Yeah, well, you're like, yes, we'll take everything. We will order everything on the menu. Thank you. Absolutely. And I want you to note that I chose, for example, oh, you won't see it, but did you note that work-life balance and a lot of money were, but I was nice and I let you have both. You could buy those two things and those two things alone. But in my experience, you don't often get like work-life balance and a whole lot of money. Okay, so we got autonomy, we got work-life balance.
And we have routine, predictable work projects.
Oh, gag me. Okay. So who here wants routine? Predictable work projects. Well, these two, all right, we got 3 people. These two happen to be on a team together, and this lady, I love it. Okay, what else? Anything else?
And free coffee and snacks.
Yeah, that's definitely an excellent little bonus value I threw in there. Well, as you all know,
We spent $1,000.
they spent exactly $1,000, and I'm going to let you know, you won. You do get the things that you've decided to purchase, and you two also win the free Myers-Briggs, and this is just a $5 gift card. Because I like to incentivize people for showing up. I actually tried to incentivize people for sitting in the front row. Nobody played my game. So you ladies will receive an email from me about how to take the Myers-Briggs as well. Give them a round of applause. Thank you, guys. So we are almost done. I know you're super sad. We are talking about self-assessment methods, and really, what I'm getting at here is it's really any exercise that works for you. And one of the things I also want you to note about the workplace values that we just did, I had you work with a partner, 1, because it's more fun that way. Everything's more fun with a partner. And 2, sometimes external things in our life impact our workplace values, and it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge the fact that you have a family and you need to make more money. Or it's okay to acknowledge that you have debt and you need to make more money. Or it's okay to acknowledge you need to be home and work-life balance is essential. What's important is acknowledging what's influencing you and then still being honest about what's really important to you in your life. Okay, so as I said before, we love self-assessment at Emory, and I try to make it really easy for you. I will email you all by Monday with the Self-Assessment Resources Guide, which I have created, and it basically outlines everything I've talked about today, including the different online assessments that are available, how much they cost, what I would encourage you to do. And in the Self-Assessment Resources Guide, there is a career blueprint at the back. It's very, very basic, but I think these are essential questions that everybody should be able to answer. I would highly encourage you to look into your blueprint and start making some decisions. Okay, onward and upward. Here are the next steps. So check your Emory email. By Monday, you will receive the Self-Assessment Resources Guide directly from me. Yep. Review the Self-Assessment Resources Guide. We try to make it really tricky. That's a really tricky one. Next, there will be probably a Myers-Briggs workshop in the spring. So if you do end up taking the Myers-Briggs online, because you can do that now, you can show, and we can talk more in depth about the Myers-Briggs and why I love it so much. Also, on October 24th, we'll have a program called Mining for Gold. It's a self-assessment workshop. I help you mine for your figurative gold. We do exercises together to help you identify your strengths, your interests, and your values, which I consider to be your gold. October 24th, I believe it's like 3 o'clock, but you'll be getting emails and in your career briefs. I hope everyone is paying attention to the career briefs as you're getting them. Okay, now we know we can talk to people. And your advisor, we are all here for you. We love this stuff. Can we do it for you? No. We can't eat your breakfast for you either. But we can be a sounding board. We can tell you what has happened in our experience, and we can direct you to amazing resources as well. I highly encourage you to take advantage. Don't forget your awesome mirror. Don't forget your 2-sentence journal. And then you want to make your plan and start your blueprints. Now, I have a couple final pieces of advice. As you go into this journey, first, I want you to note, you cannot mess this up. That's a really, really good thing. If you think about my story, I went in the exact opposite direction of my strengths, my interests, and my values by going to Wall Street. And good news, I don't regret one step that I've taken. The interesting part is I was honest with myself, and I continued to try to get closer, which is what I encourage you to do. What I think is not a good strategy is this. Don't do this. It's not a good strategy. This is happening. My friend saw this. She's like, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. I'm here to tell you it is. It's happening. You're here. You're getting this degree. Now, remember, as you take this journey as well, there isn't going to be anything to give you all the answers. I want you to pick up your little gold nuggets. I'm not sure if she's actually laying them down or picking them up, but we're going to pick up our gold nuggets, and we're going to take our pieces of truth with us. That's the plan. And then you take those, and then you get good experience, and you're going to realize no experience is perfect, and no job is perfect, but you're just going to keep trying to get closer. Just try to get closer to your gold, right? Finally, let me remind you, who owns this process? Everybody in here has a little sneaking feeling, just like that guy, that I am talking about you. Yes, and that's a good thing. There's nobody better suited to guide you and to lead you and to get you where you need to go than you. This is some of my best advice that I've ever gotten. Live a life true to yourself, not what others expect of you, especially here in law school. What happens is the instant your first set of grades come out, the comparisons begin. And then OCI happens, and the comparisons continue. And what I'm here to tell you is that your path is unique. Remember my blueprint in the beginning? It was sort of messy and ridiculous. Yeah, that's because it's mine. I'm a messy person. And your blueprint is going to look different than your neighbor's, and that's okay. Just focus on your path and keep stepping. That's really all it takes. One of my favorite quotes from Bruce Lee is, walk on. Okay, if you don't believe me, let's talk to the master of his craft. Steve Jobs had to say, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle, as with all matters of the heart, you'll know it when you find it. Now, I know that he even had terrible days at his job, even when he was the boss. So keep in mind, this is all challenging and it's all difficult, but you can get closer. I have one final piece of wisdom from a source that I hope you all recognize. Yoda. Yes. Yes. If I were to translate what I think Yoda would tell you today, it is, take this journey. Start your blueprints. Ask the big, powerful questions. Use your time here at Emory and this incredible degree that you're going to get and use them wisely. I dare you. Thank you.